The Battle of Geonosis is the first battle of the Clone Wars. It was the debut appearance of the Grand Army of the Republic, and the opening of hostilities between the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Today we'll take a look at the strategic importance of that battle and how it played out. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Battle of Geonosis, which we see at the end of Attack of the Clones, is the first battle of the Clone Wars. And it's one of the most significant engagements of the early years of the war. It saw the forces of the Confederacy of Independent Systems defending the planet of Geonosis against a Republic assault. So what were the Republic's goals going into this attack? Well, first off, the Republic wanted to capture Separatist leadership. This includes not just Count Dooku, but other members of the Separatist Council. They also wanted to capture or disable the droid factories on the planet, which were producing massive numbers of battle droids for the military being built for the Confederacy of Independent Systems. And lastly, they wanted to prevent any droids that were already built from leaving the planet. If the Republic could achieve all three of these goals, they could effectively stop the Clone Wars from happening at all. Shortly before the outbreak of the battle, several Jedi were captured while investigating the planet. These include Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, as well as a Republic senator, Senator Padme Amidala from Naboo. While they were supposed to be executed, that execution was foiled by a Jedi strike team. However, the strike team also ultimately failed in their task, seeing many Jedi fall in the Geonosian arena before the battle had even really begun. With the failure of the Jedi strike team, the decision was made by Jedi Master Yoda to bring in the military that the Republic had in their back pocket. It started with a series of gunships swooping in and rescuing any surviving Jedi within the arena, and wiping out many of the droid forces that were besieging them. After they had seized the area around the arena, they immediately began using the large flat plains in the immediate vicinity as landing zones for their Acclamator-class assault ships. They were quick to use gunships to push aerial assaults against escaping Separatist vehicles. However, they knew that these gunships would be ineffective against large vessels like the Lucrehulk-class core ships, so instead focused much of their energy on the smaller Techno-Union Hardcell-class transports, many of which were destroyed in the very early stages of the battle. With a large number of Republic forces on the planet, they immediately began pushing toward their primary objective, which at that time were the landed Trade Federation Lucrehulk-class core ships. Many of these were landed in a small cluster. This cluster was across the plains from where the Republic forces had landed. It is around this time that Separatist leadership is able to meet. Not only are they confused by the sudden appearance of a large army fighting for the Republic, but they're also dealing with widespread transmission jamming. The first faction to order a full-scale retreat was the Trade Federation. Newt Gunray and the rest of the Trade Federation leadership basically immediately began fleeing towards some hangars where they could depart the system aboard Sheathipede-class transports. Meanwhile, the order was given to all of the Lucrehulk-class core ships to immediately launch off the surface and begin making their way into orbit. With the core ships now initiating the process of retreating, one of the Republic's primary objectives was now time-sensitive. This saw a vigorous push from the Grand Army of the Republic, mostly led by Jedi generals who were fighting on the ground. And as these core ships started to launch, Republic forces started to close in. When they were within range, out of desperation, the large siege cannons, also known as SPHA, or self-propelled heavy artillery, were overcharged and ordered to focus fire on a single core ship. The focused fire of a large number of these really heavy siege beams was ultimately enough to bring down a single core ship. However, we know that they weren't able to destroy all of them. Several were able to make it to orbit and reattach with the hull sections of the Lucrehulk-class vessels and flee into hyperspace. Meanwhile, it became increasingly clear to Separatist leadership that the battle would not go their way, and the last of the members of the Separatist Council began the process of fleeing the planet. Most notably was Count Dooku, who took off on a swoop bike and began making his way towards his personal shuttle. At this point, many of the Separatist droid units had been ordered to fall back in an attempt to make it off the planet, and many of the Geonosians have fled into the caves to attempt to mount a guerrilla war. It's around that time that Jedi generals Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi notice Count Dooku fleeing on a swoop bike. They order the pilot of their LAAT to attempt to pursue, and they themselves are then pursued by a pair of Nantex-class territorial defense starfighters, more commonly known as Geonosian starfighters, which ultimately pursue the LAAT, which is in turn pursuing Count Dooku, all the way to his private hangar, where his personal solar sail is parked. A small battle takes place within this hangar, mostly involving several Jedi and Count Dooku, and ultimately several Jedi are wounded, including Anakin Skywalker, and Dooku is able to slip off-planet. So while the Republic was able to successfully drive the Separatists off the world, and they did seize the Separatist droid factories that were present in that region of the planet, the other two objectives that they had, capturing Separatist leadership and preventing the escape of large numbers of battle droids, were unfortunately both failures. A large number of Trade Federation core ships were able to slip off the planet, along with a large number of Techno-Union hard cell class transports. This basically means that a sufficient number of ground forces were able to make it off the world to wage a galactic war. But the Republic was ultimately able to claim some sort of victory, having seized the planet from the Separatists for the most part, although it wouldn't be the last time they'll return to Geonosis during the war, but that is a story for another day. Now, you may have noticed something interesting is that I didn't once mention a Venator-class Star Destroyer, which would ultimately become the mainstay vessel of the Republic military. Well, that's because there were suspiciously no Venators present at the battle. If you want to learn more about some possible reasons why there were no Venators present at the Battle of Geonosis, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I want you to let me know down in the comments, if you were a Republic commander, would you have carried out the battle the same way that the Republic did? Would you have carried out an assault focusing on the Trade Federation ships, for example? Or would you have instead opted for a less traditional approach? For example, maybe bombarding them from orbit. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.